Hello and thank you for watching the Week in Review. I'm Chad Roderick and this is a summation of your weekly headlines. We start with new fires that sparked late last week near the town of Meeker. Take a look.
Here in Meeker at the edge of the Lee and Elk wildfires, you really never know which way the wind is going to blow, and I just learned that the hard way. The direction of the wind just shifted in the past 20 minutes, and Highway 64 that I used to get to Meeker just shut down at the border of town. But if you can imagine, I'm told by officials, this is actually a calmer scene than it was yesterday.
So we did see active fire behavior, red flag warnings with this hot, dry weather. The relative humidity or moisture within those fuels is very low, single digits, some of the lowest we've ever seen. So the fuels out there really do want to burn. So with the current weather conditions we've had the last couple days where we've seen this active fire behavior, we have similar conditions up to Saturday. So we do have quite a battle ahead of us, and a lot of the personnel, the men and women are out there, are working there, working on and getting it done and trying to get a hold of this fire.
The Lee fire that's burning directly behind me went from 22,000 acres to burning over 56,000 acres overnight. Evacuations rose yesterday from get ready to go for some residents, but I'm told that things become more manageable today because the dry vegetation that's burning behind me is still smoldering, but has already burned considerably through. But these hot, dry, and windy conditions are continuing to make containment difficult for firefighters, and they are prepared, we're told, for these conditions to continue throughout Saturday. As of now, both the Lee and Elk wildfires are 0% contained. Ariana Boss, back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Ariana. Now, the Turner Gulch fire has burned nearly 2,500 acres and is currently 49% contained. Now, Jeff Hinkle took a look at where helicopters are stationed to help support crews fighting one of the biggest fires in Colorado.
Fighting a fire takes resources of all shapes and sizes. There's planes going out of Grand Junction Regional Airport, and now there's helicopters that have turned the Country Jam area in Mac Mesa to a makeshift helibase to help fight the Turner Gulch fire.
That's right, the same land that once sounded like this now sounds like this. Efforts to fight the Turner Gulch fire by helicopter have taken over the Country Jam area in Mac and have turned what was once a campground for the festival into a makeshift helipad. The reason they're not at the airport with all of the other aircraft that are fighting the fire?
We get in the way of them if we were to operate out there.
Operations shifted from a space closer to the fire near Gateway out to the Country Jam spot, back to a familiar spot for the crews that have been here since at least 2020.
We got more equipment, more helicopters. That spot didn't facilitate the operation that we have here now. So we operated with Grand Junction Airport and Delta Airport for a few days, but it's much better to have everything in one spot. We used this spot for Pine Gulch in 2020, and the landowners are really great to work with here. So that's how we ended up choosing Country Jam.
So where do firefighters get the water to use to help fight these fires?
We'll use anything from rivers, reservoirs, the West Creek, the Dolores, Big Creek Reservoir. All of those have been options to get water.
The base is brand new to the pilots that fly into it, and some come from outside of Colorado to help with the blaze. But the goal of aerial firefighting is still the same.
We just got to the base yesterday from Cody, Wyoming. Today is our second day on the fire. Our main job as helicopters is to support the ground guys. That's all we're here for, is making sure they get what they need so they can operate safely, and we're aiding them. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that put out the fire. All we're doing is just cooling things down so they can conduct their operation as effectively as possible.
When it's not fighting fires, the helicopter serves one purpose.
The Sky Crane is built for one thing, and it's to lift heavy things.
Or in this case, to carry up to 2,650 gallons of either water or retardant. Jeff Hinkle, Fox 4 News.
And the Turner Gulch fire continues to burn, pushed by a red flag condition that have been making red flag conditions that have made firefighting efforts challenging. The fire has now burned nearly 2,500 acres following a 5,000 acre growth overnight, and it's currently 49% contained. The Mesa County Fairgrounds has been converted into a base camp for first responders. Marge Tobin took a look.
Right after the Mesa County Fair wrapped up, crews began transforming these fairgrounds into a base camp for the Turner Gulch Fire. Public Information Officer with the Northern Rockies Incident Management Team 2, Emily Ficker, tells us more.
Fairgrounds are a good location for an incident command post for a fire because they have the room that we need to be able to set up all of the things that we need, because an incident is supported by finance, logistics, operations, ground support, public information, liaisons.
This location is ideal, with enough space, power, and internet to keep operations moving smoothly. Oftentimes, schools are used for fire bases, but with today marking the first day of school in Mesa County and the fire still active, planners knew a long-term option would be needed. And today, a pick-me-up at base camp. Therapy dogs are making a special visit to help boost morale for crews who have been working tirelessly. Fire crews will remain staged at the fairgrounds as long as needed. Red flag conditions are expected to continue through the end of the week. Marge Tobin, Fox 4 News.
Now, Mesa County Commissioners approved the filing of a lawsuit today against Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser and Governor Jared Polis. They claim a recently enacted immigration law that's now affecting a Mesa County deputy is unconstitutional. Ariana Boss has more.
Aye, motion carries.
And just like that, Mesa County fights back. On Tuesday morning, the county commissioners unanimously voted to authorize a lawsuit against Colorado Governor Jared Polis and Attorney General Phil Weiser. They claim an immigration law alleged to have been violated by Deputy Alexander Zwink is unconstitutional and violates federal authority.
If left unchallenged, it puts every officer in Colorado at risk of being punished for doing what they've been trained to do, to work with, share information with fellow law enforcement.
Following a traffic stop in June, Zwink shared information about University of Utah student Carolyn Diaz-Goncalves with ICE in a Signal group chat, prompting a lawsuit brought against him by the Attorney General. A suit commissioners claim is ideologically driven.
Mesa County will vigorously defend our deputy against Attorney General Phil Weiser politically motivated lawsuit.
One of the 3 high-level officers represented in the anticipated suit includes Sheriff Todd Rowell, who recently issued a statement of apology to Goncalves following her 15-day imprisonment and issued disciplinary action against Zwink and 4 other involved officials. But Mesa County says this shouldn't have had to happen.
If the Attorney General and the Governor had simply done their job and perhaps issued advisory opinions about here is the conflict, recognize the conflict between the state statute and the federal law, and then give our law enforcement officers some guidance, this would be avoided.
But some members of the public aren't as excited to forgive the sheriff for punishing Zwink and the other officials in the first place.
You didn't stand up for your employee like the city or like the county stood up for you.
My final say is the sheriff has to go. Thank you.
Ariana Boss, Fox 4 News.
Not too long ago, the state of Colorado found its way out of a $1 billion deficit, and now there is word that Colorado could be facing a higher debt this non-calendar year. Kyle Kawamoto spoke with state legislators and Colorado officials to find out more.
Colorado's budget wallet is going to be tighter this non-calendar year, as the state is possibly finding itself up to a $1.2 billion deficit.
I think we need an intervention. Our inflation in those 7 years has increased 26%. Our population has only increased 5%.
Senator Rich states that there was a 50% budget increase and 4,000 new full-time employees in 7 years. Officials from the State Budget Committee tell me during the last legislative session, the committee reported that despite closing a $1 billion gap in budgeting, recent corporate tax cuts caused an estimate $1.2 billion imbalance in Colorado.
We are going to have to close around $1 billion of a gap, which most certainly will mean a reduction of services and care.
We reached out to the governor's office for comment, and a representative sent us a statement saying in part, quote, Governor Polis has been open about the sad reality that the state can't make up for the funding that our federal government is taking away from Coloradans. The governor has previously indicated we may need to reconvene the General Assembly to deal with the terrible impacts from the bill, and we are still reviewing the impacts of this new law to evaluate next steps, including a potential special session.
Mesa County is affected because some of the bills that got passed created a lot of unfunded mandates, forcing the county to spend its money instead of the state funding them.
Republicans chose not to continue those supports. Again, we already live in a really economically unequal society. This bill really exacerbates that problem. And I think, what we ultimately are going to see is that there is no more middle class anymore.
Kyle Kawamoto, Fox 4 News.
And it's officially back to school season. Schools around District 51 started classes today. Jeff Hinkle caught up with D51 Superintendent Brian Hill to talk about the goals for District 51 this upcoming school year.
The parking lots are full, the halls are filled, and classes around the Western Slope are back in action. Today marks the first official day of the school year for Mesa County School District 51. And while it may be the end of summer,
the summer's fun, but it's a lot better when we have kids in our hallways.
And you may think the superintendent would be stuck in meetings all day on the first day of school, but he's just like any other parent out there.
First off, I'm a dad first, and so I was able to drop my kiddo off this morning for his first day of middle school, which go Orchard Mesa Nights, and so was able to do that this morning.
School District 51 has a new strategic plan going into this year, but some of the same problems that plagued the school last year will unfortunately be around this year as well.
It was a tough budget year for us as a district, and it's just going to get worse moving forward, but we're really paying attention to what the budget's going to look like these coming years, especially as we continue to decline in enrollment.
And that decline in enrollment might get worse before it gets any better.
The state demographer is predicting that we're going to continue to decline for at least a few more years before maybe it starts to kind of flatten out a little bit, and then we won't see an increase for a little while. And she actually predicted that we'll never get back to pre-pandemic numbers of students in our community.
So while school may be back in session, District 51 is trying to make it right and make it better for kids around the district as we head into yet another year of classes. Jeff Hinkle, Fox 4 News.
And school is back in session. For students crossing the street to get to their school, it can be dangerous. Kyle Kawamoto went to West Middle School, and he went around the district with more on how to stay safe.
As students head back to the classroom for the new school year, there's going to be more foot traffic as many more cars are going to be on the road. Which means taking more distractions into account and keeping your eyes on the road.
When we're running radar enforcement to try and make sure that drivers are driving slow, you'll have drivers that will drive by going over the school zone limit, and we'll turn on our overhead lights and they'll still keep driving. They're distracted with their cell phones or whatever it may be.
Peck emphasizes that people driving distractedly, whether due to being late for work or class, poses risks to children biking or walking to school. Awareness is crucial for safety. As an example, on North Cherry Street, Peck explains there is a high amount of speeding seen. He says taking that extra look before crossing the road can be a lifesaver.
Now, once after you hit the button on the crosswalk, you'll see these flashing lights. You always want to look left, right, then left again before making that first step, and always making sure that cars are completely stopped in both directions.
Police officials say parents should practice safe routes with their kids. Walk the school route together, ensure kids have the number of their cell phone for emergencies, and know they can look for an officer for help.
We just really need people. It takes everybody to make sure that the kids are safe. And so we just want people to be aware of that. If somebody is caught doing 10 to 19 miles an hour over a speed limit, it can be a $270 ticket and 4 points off the license. So if we can get people to slow down before we have to do that enforcement, that's our ultimate goal.
Kyle Kawamoto, Fox 4 News.
Now, every school year, an ongoing debate rages on what kids should and should not be able to read in schools and public libraries. And this latest back-to-school season appears to be no different. Ariana Boss recently attended a self-titled book banning exhibition at the Uncanny Valley Art Gallery in Grand Junction to find out what all the controversy is about.
A lot of it is under the guise of protecting kids and keeping kids safe, not exposing them.
Kim Daniel is a mother of 3 and an outreach coordinator for the Mesa County Public Library. This back-to-school season, she is fighting for a child's right to read controversial books.
Across the country, the trend of banning books has kind of risen. It's kind of started in schools more, but also library board meetings have risen as well.
Last weekend, the county library sponsored an exhibit displaying the books most requested to be removed from public schools and libraries across the nation. Titles range from classics like The Great Gatsby to LGBT-themed books like All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. Attendees were invited to spin the wheel and guess why the book they landed on made the most wanted list. Some landed on the children's book And Tango Makes Three.
It's a true story about two penguins in a zoo where they were given an egg to help raise. And the reason why it was banned is because the two penguins are both boy penguins. And it's one of those controversial where it's expressing homosexuality, but they're penguins.
Concerned adults and organizations like the conservative-leaning group Moms for Liberty have rejected the label of book banners, insisting instead the books in question are obscene and unfit for children. Parental controls for sexual content and violence, like the ones we have for television, they say should apply to books kids read as well. We reached out to them and other groups and have yet to receive comment, but we did hear from Jodi Picoult, best-selling author of 19 Minutes, a book about a fictional school shooting, which is, according to recent studies, the most widely contested book in the nation. In a statement to us, she says, quote, "There's nothing wrong with a parent deciding what his or her child should read. There's a colossal problem with a parent deciding what everyone else's children should read." Ariana Boss, Fox 4 News.
And a recently released analysis from Colorado's 988 suicide line says the majority of statewide residents calling to seek help are men. Ariana Boss has more on the reason why experts say men are more likely to die by suicide.
A recently released analysis from Colorado's 988 suicide hotline says the majority of statewide residents calling to seek help are men. Local public health experts tell us the reason men are more likely to die by suicide here in Mesa County and nationwide is immediate access to guns. Years of national studies have deemed men more likely than women to die by suicide, even though the suicide attempt rates, according to experts, are fairly equal. But officials say while women are more likely to attempt suicide with an overdose, men are more likely to use a firearm, and we're told the lethality of the weapon leads to a disproportionate impact on male suicide deaths, especially in places with high levels of gun ownership, like here on the Western Slope.
Because of the lethality of firearms, it's far more difficult to intervene in that suicide attempt, which is different from overdose, where we have things like Narcan, where we can interrupt an overdose and save that person's life.
Experts say there is no singular reason for suicidal thinking, but men are disproportionately affected by the major risk factors, such as substance abuse and mental health concerns. Veterans who are statistically more likely to be male are particularly vulnerable given their access to lethal means and higher risk for social isolation and substance abuse. But while the factors leading to suicide are varied, we're told there is an equation for preventing suicide deaths when using a firearm. Time plus distance equals safety. And an act as simple as safely storing and locking up a gun can buy someone enough time to reconsider a suicide attempt.
There's lots of different things to buy time. 988 buys time, our mobile crisis team buys time, co-response buys time, calling a friend, phoning a friend, right? Creating time and distance between suicidal thinking and the lethal mean can create safety.
And if you or a loved one are suffering from thoughts of suicide, please call the 988 hotline, and in emergencies, please dial 911. Ariana Boss, back to you at the desk.
All right, that does it for the Week in Review. Make sure to tune back every Friday for a summation of your weekly headlines. I'm Chad Roderick.